links bent inward, coated in black, dripping sluggishly to the ground. Pieces of skin still clung, pale and wet, trembling in the night air. He gagged, turned from the sight. The radio crackled suddenly. Matt lunged for it. Static bled into the booth, sharp and constant. Then, beneath it, his own voice. Low, distorted, repeating his words from earlier in the night. Stay the hell back. Matt froze, every hair on his body standing on end. The voice repeated, slurred, dragged through static. Stay the hell back. He dropped the radio. It hit the desk with a clatter, still hissing. By dawn, the figure hadn't returned. The lot was silent, but the fence was ruined, mangled inward, flesh still hanging in strings. He didn't report it. Couldn't. How could he explain? Instead, he walked the perimeter with numb hands, clipping away the worst of the gore with wire cutters. His gloves slick black. The smell clung to him, sweet and rotten, like spoiled milk mixed with rust. When the day shift arrived, he'd already dumped the mess in a trash bag behind the booth. The new guard didn't notice the warped fence, didn't notice Matt's trembling hands. Quiet night? He asked, yawning. Matt nodded. His throat ached. Yeah, quiet. At home, he showered 3 times, scrubbed until his skin burned red. The smell wouldn't leave. The blackness clung to him, coating the back of his throat. He vomited bile into the sink, knuckles white on porcelain. When he finally looked up, his reflection stared back. Only now the corners of its mouth were split, thin dark cracks climbing toward the ears. Matt touched his own lips. Smooth, whole. The reflection bled anyway, black fluid sliding down its chin. And then it smiled. That night, when it was time to drive back, Matt sat at the kitchen table again, staring at the phone. Every part of him screamed not to go. But another part, the deeper, uglier part, knew it didn't matter. The thing wasn't bound to the fence anymore. It had already started coming through. Chapter 5, Inside. By the 5th night, the line between the lot and his life had collapsed. He no longer felt the shift begin when he clocked in. It was everywhere now, constant. At home, mirrors twitched. Reflections lagged. His own face sometimes split at the edges in the glass, mouth stretching wider than his skull should allow before snapping back in place when he blinked. And the smell. That cloying, metallic sweetness clung to his clothes, his sheets, his skin. No amount of scrubbing drove it out. He didn't tell anyone. Who would believe it? Instead, he kept going back to work. Each night, like clockwork, like some part of him knew the thing would follow if he didn't. That shift began quietly. Too quiet. The fence stayed empty until nearly 2 a.m. Matt sat at the desk, knuckles raw from where he'd chewed them. The radio hissed softly. Then he heard it. Not the groan of the fence this time. From inside the booth. He froze. His eyes darted around the cramped space. The sound was wet. A faint drip. He looked down. Black fluid pooled slowly beneath the desk, glistening against the tile. His breath caught. He leaned forward, flashlight trembling in his hand. The puddle widened, bleeding out from the shadows under the desk. And then he saw the fingers, pale, long bent wrong at the joints, crawling slowly forward, dragging themselves through the liquid. Matt scrambled back against the booth wall, heart hammering. The hand kept coming, wrist bending impossibly as it pulled itself free. A second hand followed, claws of bone visible through sloughed skin. The thing was inside. Matt kicked the door open, stumbling out into the night. He slipped on wet asphalt, caught himself with raw palms, bolted toward the fence line. Behind him, the booth light flickered. Shadows moved inside, though no one was there. He gagged while burning his throat. The lot was silent except for his ragged breathing. But then, the reflection. In the booth's glass window, he saw himself staring back. Not slouched in panic, not fleeing, calm, sitting at the desk. The reflection leaned forward, lips splitting, and mouthed something Matt couldn't hear. Then it smiled, cracks running up its cheeks, teeth too many, too sharp. The booth light went out. Matt ran the perimeter of the fence, a flashlight beam cutting jagged lines. The wires still bowed inward where it had been 4 days before. Shreds of skin hung stiff, dry black. He heard movement behind him. Footsteps. He spun, beams slicing across the lot. Empty. But when he swung the light back toward the fence, there he was, on the inside now, standing in the lot. No fence between them. The figure stood in the open air, dripping black down his chin. Clothes the same as Matt's. Hands slick and raw. Fingers curled too far back as though bone wanted to push through. Matt's stomach lurched. He backed away, every nerve screaming. The figure followed. Not running. Not lunging. Just walking. Each step left black stains on the pavement. Slick puddles that clung too long before fading into nothing. Matt turned and ran for his car. His keys shook in his hands, slipping, fumbling. Behind him, footsteps followed steady as a heartbeat. He jammed the key into the lock, ripped the door open, threw himself inside. The dome light flicked on, and for an instant, in that pale glow, someone sat in the passenger seat. Himself, head tilted, lips cracked open, teeth slick with black. Matt screamed, twisted the key, engine roaring. He stomped the gas, tires shrieking against asphalt. The seat beside him was empty, but the smell lingered. That sweet, rotten blackness. He didn't remember the drive home, only the road blurring past, the night swallowing him whole. By the time he stumbled into his apartment, shaking, it was nearly dawn. He locked every door, every window, drew the blinds. Then he saw it, the jacket, black his size, draped neatly across the back of the kitchen chair. The same jacket he'd found at the fence, the one he hadn't brought home. Matt's legs went weak. He dropped to his knees, staring. His own jacket still hung in the closet. He'd checked, but this one sat waiting, dry, clean, like someone had laid it out for him to wear. He didn't sleep, couldn't. Every time he blinked, he saw his own face, waiting, smiling, and now it was inside. Chapter 6, Replacements. The 6th night, Matthew didn't go in. He sat on the edge of his bed, fully dressed, jacket zipped, boots laced. The clock ticked past 11 p.m., then 11:30, then midnight. His phone buzzed once, dispatch calling to ask why he hadn't checked in, but he let it ring until it stopped. He wasn't going back. Couldn't. The thing wasn't bound to the lot anymore. He'd seen it in his car, in his mirrors, in his apartment. The booth was just the start, but staying home didn't feel safer. Every sound in the building set his nerves jangling. The neighbor's pipes, the elevator creaking, the refrigerator's hum, and then, around 1 a.m., a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. Matt froze, breath caught in his throat. Another knock, louder this time. Keen, a voice, his supervisor's. Relief surged, quick and fragile. But then, the voice spoke again, same tone, same cadence. Keen, exactly the same, word for word, like a recording. Matt's skin crawled. He backed away from the door. The voice came once more, warped at the edges like static leaking through a radio. The knock rattled the door hard enough that the frame shuddered. Matt stumbled to the bathroom, slammed the door, locked it. He sat on the floor, knees to his chest, trembling. The knocking stopped. Silence stretched thin, then drip. He turned his head slowly. The mirror above the sink was bleeding. Thin streams of black seeped down the glass, veining across the surface, dripping onto the porcelain. And in the mirror, not his bathroom, the booth. He saw himself sitting inside it, head in hands. Then the reflection lifted its face, lips split wide, teeth black and glistening. It reached forward, fingers pressed against the other side of the glass. The mirror bulged outward beneath the touch. Matt screamed, hurled his shaving kit at it. The glass cracked, spiderwebbing. The image dissolved, but the black liquid stayed, running from the cracks, pooling in the sink. He didn't sleep. By morning, his phone buzzed again. This time it was a co-worker, Steve, the guy who usually worked Friday mornings. "Hey, you feeling okay?" Steve asked, voice casual. "Saw you last night on the lot." Matt's blood went cold. "No, you didn't." There was a pause. "Oh, yeah, man. You waved me through when I came early. Thought it was weird, but whatever. I figured you were covering. Matt's mouth went dry. Steve, I wasn't there. Another pause. Longer this time. You what? Matt swallowed hard, voice cracking. I wasn't there. Steve's voice shifted, uneasy now. Then who the fuck? The line went dead. Matt sat frozen, phone heavy in his hand. Someone had seen him, and it wasn't him. That evening, he tried to leave the apartment for the first time all day. He needed air, noise, people. But as soon as he stepped into the hallway, the world tilted. Two women passed him, chatting. They didn't look twice at him, but when they turned the corner at the stairwell, one whispered, "He looked rougher up close." And the other said, "Yeah, didn't he just walk past us downstairs, though?" Matt stopped dead. His stomach dropped hollow. He turned, heart slamming. At the far end of the hall, someone stood. Tall, broad-shouldered, jacket zipped. Him, staring. The hallway light flickered, throwing the face into sharp relief. Split mouth, black drips. The double lifted one hand, palm outward. A mockery of a wave. Matt bolted back into his apartment, slammed the door, shoved the chain across. His reflection in the peephole lens was warped, fish-eyed, and smiling. By midnight, he sat in the dark, all lights off, knees to his chest again. He tried not to breathe too loudly, as though the thing could hear him through walls. The knock didn't come this time, but his phone buzzed again, screen lighting up. An image message from an unknown number. His stomach flipped as he opened it. A photo of him sitting in the security booth, head and hands, the mouth split wide. The text beneath read, "Shift never ends." Chapter 7, The Other Shift. By the seventh night, Matthew couldn't tell if he was unemployed or still on the clock. No one had called him back after Steve. The company line rang busy when he tried it. His supervisor's voicemail was full, and yet, every night around midnight, he felt it like a pull in his gut. The lot called him back. The booth, the fence. He resisted, stayed in the apartment, poured liquor down his throat to blur the hours. But each time, he'd see something out of place. A jacket slung across a chair that wasn't there before. Boot prints wet with black across the kitchen tile. The reflection on the TV screen, smiling when he wasn't. There were still working shifts, even if he wasn't. On the third day of hiding, his phone rang. He almost didn't answer, but the screen said, "Mom." "Matthew." Her voice was thin, strained. "Why didn't you tell me?" His throat closed. "Tell you what." She sounded almost annoyed. "That you came by. Yesterday. You scare me half to death, standing outside like that. You wouldn't even come in." His skin crawled. "Mom, I didn't. You looked awful. I barely recognized you." "But you said..." She hesitated, voice warping with uncertainty. "You said the strangest thing, that you were done with the Marines. That you come home." Matt's blood froze. "Mom, that wasn't me." The line went quiet. And then, "Don't joke about that, Matthew." Click. The call ended. Matt dropped the phone while rising. His hand shook so hard he could barely breathe. It wasn't just the lot anymore. The thing was walking through his life. Talking to people he loved. Wearing his face. And Danny's. That night, he dreamed again of the fence. Only this time, he wasn't outside it. He was inside the lot, sitting in the booth. And the figure, no, the other him, stood on the outside, watching. Hands pressed flat to the chain link. But the dream twisted. He looked down and realized he wasn't in the booth at all. He was inside the reflection of the booth, behind glass. And when he pressed his hand against the pane, his twin on the other side matched him, smiling wide. Then the glass bulged outward. The reflection's hand began to press into his side of the world. He woke gasping, sheets soaked through. His lips felt cracked. He touched them, and his fingers came away dark, sticky. In the bathroom mirror, his reflection's mouth split wider, dark fluid running down its chin, even though his own face was clean. The reflection leaned forward, nose nearly touching the glass, and mouthed, almost done. By evening, he couldn't stand the apartment anymore. The walls felt soft, like they were about to split. So he drove. Not to the lot. Not yet. He drove aimlessly through Elizabeth, past the warehouses and strip malls. The world felt hollow, like everyone else was paper cutouts moving through a stage set. And then, stopped at a red light, he saw himself. Across the intersection, walking along the sidewalk in his jacket, his boots, his slouch. Face split in that too wide smile. People passed him without alarm. One even nodded, muttered hello. The other him nodded back. Like nothing was wrong. Matt's stomach churned. His foot slammed the gas before the light turned. Horns blared, tires squealed, but he didn't care. When he looked again, the sidewalk was empty. By the time he reached the lot, he didn't remember deciding to come. The fence loomed, still warped and bent from before. The booth glowed faintly under the sodium lights. Through the window, he saw a figure sitting at the desk, head in hands, jacket zipped. Himself. Matt staggered forward, throat raw. Get the fuck out of there. The figure didn't move, didn't even look up. Matt stumbled closer, heart hammering, and then the figure lifted its head. Black fluid ran down its chin, pooling on the desk. Its lips split wider, and it mouthed his words back at him. Get the fuck out of there. Then it smiled. Matt turned and ran, but the echo of his own voice followed, distorted, slipping out of the booth radio, bleeding into the night air. Get the fuck out of there. Get the fuck out of there. Get the fuck out of there. Chapter 8. Hollowing. Morning came without warning. Matt woke, not in his bed, but on the floor of his living room, cheek pressed to the carpet. His hands were black at the fingertips, sticky and brittle like dry tar. He tried to flex them, but the skin split in hairline cracks, leaking dark fluid that didn't feel like blood. His stomach was hollow, gnawing, as if he hadn't eaten in days. But the thought of food made him gag. The phone rang again. He picked it up without speaking. A man's voice, flat, official. Keen, this is dispatch. You didn't clock out. Matt swallowed, throat raw. What? You didn't clock out. The voice repeated, exactly the same tone. You've been on since Thursday. Your shift never ended. Matt's head spun. I wasn't there. You are there. And then silence. When he pulled the phone away, the line was still connected, but there was no sound, until he heard breathing. And then his own voice whispering through the speaker, get the fuck out of there. He dropped the phone. By evening, his mother called again. Her tone was cheerful this time, almost relieved. Matthew, it was so good seeing you yesterday. I'm glad you're back on your feet. You sounded more like yourself. His stomach turned. Mom, I haven't. Oh, don't start. You came by, you hugged me. You told me everything was fine. Her voice grew fainter, like the line was stretching away. I just wanted you to know I'm proud of you. You've been working so hard. Then the line clicked. The dial tone buzzed. Matt sat frozen, all in his throat. Someone was living his life, and everyone believed it. That night, he made the mistake of going outside. The air was heavy with drizzle, the streets washed in neon glow. At the corner bodega, he heard someone call his name. Keen. He turned. Steve, the co-worker, grinning, waving. Hey man, good shift tonight. Matt's blood ran cold. Steve, wasn't me. Steve frowned. What are you talking about? You covered last night, right? You're always there. Matt shook his head, trembling. It's not me. That thing at the booth, it's not me. But Steve's expression softened, pitying. Keen, come on. You're just tired. Matt's chest clenched. I'm telling you, it's not me. Steve's smile widened too far. His lips cracked at the edges. Black seeped between his teeth. He leaned close, whispering. Then who are you? Matt stumbled back, heart hammering. Steve's face flickered in the streetlight, collapsing into his own. His own eyes. His own mouth split wide. Matt turned and ran. Back in the apartment, the mirrors betrayed him. In the bathroom, his reflection no longer moved with him. When he lifted his arm, it stayed still. When he spoke, he smiled. Then it leaned forward, pressing its forehead against the glass until the pane bulged outward like stretched skin. Almost done, it whispered. Matt staggered back. His stomach cramped violently, doubling him over. He vomited into the sink, thick black liquid, more than his body could possibly hold. It splattered the porcelain, hissed like acid, and ate away the enamel. When he looked up, his reflection wasn't there anymore. Just an empty bathroom. And then his reflection stepped back into place, smiling. Sleep took him like drowning. He dreamed he was inside the booth again. Only this time, he wasn't sitting. He was standing guard outside the fence, watching. Inside the lot, dozens of figures moved, all in his jacket, all with his face. Some crouched in the dirt, gnawing at black lumps. Others pressed against the fence, staring at him with hollow eyes. And one, taller, broader, mouth split impossibly wide, stood apart, smiling. "You're late," it said. Matt tried to speak, but only a wet gurgle came out. The taller one leaned close, lips dripping black. "Shift's almost over." And then the chain link opened like a wound, pulling him inside. He woke in his bed, gasping. But something was wrong. The sheets were soaked not with sweat, but with black liquid. His chest felt cavernous. His ribs pressed sharp from the inside, like something was hollowing him out. And on his nightstand, where his phone had been, a cracked radio sat instead. Its speaker hummed faintly. Then his own voice came through, distorted and endless. "You are there. You are there. You are there." Chapter 9. The End of Shift. The 9th night, Matthew stopped fighting. There was no point. His phone no longer rang. His apartment no longer felt like his. Even his body wasn't his anymore. When he touched his chest, the flesh felt soft, sponge-like, as though it might cave inward at any moment. His mouth ached, teeth loose, gums split, and leaking black whenever he tried to eat. And the mirrors were never empty now. Every pane of glass, every dark window, every polished surface reflected him. Sometimes smiling, sometimes whispering, always waiting. The pull came stronger than ever that night, dragging him back toward the lot. He drove without remembering the act of starting the car, without recalling the streets. One moment he was in his apartment, and the next the chain link fence stretched in front of him, rattling in the drizzle. The booth glowed with that pale sodium light, and inside sat the doppelganger. His jacket, his boots, his slouch, head and hands. But this time, when it looked up, it didn't smile. It beckoned.